So this topic might be slightly controversial, and I understand why. A lot of people see becoming a doctor or a dentist or a pharmacist or a lawyer, so on and so forth, as such a prestigious career. They put it so high on this totem pole of careers that you can overall accomplish. So when somebody talks about it negatively, or it can sometimes bring up other thoughts that are not as positive as some of the ones that people typically gravitate towards, it typically brings out some bad feelings from that community, whether it's the medical community, the law community, whatever, right? But I'm just here to share my perspective, how I felt about it. I am going to forewarn you that this is more specific to me and maybe people from my background and culture than most people. So if it doesn't resonate with you, I completely understand. If you disagree completely, I completely understand. But I would like to share so that way if you end up being in the same scenario I am, you kind of know how to move out of it with a little bit more grace, tact, and understand what your options are. So before we get into why I think it's a bad idea to become a doctor or anything else related to it, let me start off by giving you a little bit of background about me. I am a person who went to undergrad and got my chemistry degree, and then went to grad school, got my pharmacy degree, and became obviously a doctor of pharmacy, and was set to become a pharmacist. And I realized probably 2.5 years in, this just was not the route for me. I did not want to be a part of this. Now, I felt a lot of pressure because of the background that I had. Coming from a Middle Eastern background, I was pretty much groomed to be one of three things, either somewhere in the medical field, somewhere in the law field, or somewhere in the engineering field. And then kind of on the back burner of all those things was like become a business owner, but typically, it's associated to like owning a liquor store, something of that sort. What I realized is that I wasn't truly passionate about any of those fields. And the one that I most closely resonated with was the medical field. Now, when I say the medical field, I was very broad. I didn't know where I wanted to go with it. What I did know is that I did not want to become an MD. I knew that was something that I did not want to do because it was just way too much schooling. And on top of that, once you're done, you have the residency aspect of it, and then you don't start getting paid till years after. And it's a whole mess. And then the work-life balance there's so many negative things, right? But my friend was working at Rite Aid at the time as a pharmacy tech and told me that they were looking for a tech to come on. They were going to hire them on as a clerk to begin with and then transition them into a tech. And I was like, okay, I want it to be in the medical field. I feel like this is a sign from God. Let me go give it a shot. And when I started working, I realized I was really good at it. I did a lot of things really well. My managers loved me. They always wanted me to be on. I was doing things at a very high level very quickly. So I figured, hey, maybe this is just where I was meant to be. So I geared my entire career around that one thing. And my parents were very happy to hear about that because they always wanted me to be in the medical field. So great, check that box off. And I felt like I was doing something that was awesome. It was going to come with some level of prestige. Not that I cared about it, to be 100% honest with you, but I knew how much it mattered to my family and what it sounded like, oh, your son is a doctor, like it's so cool. And it's almost like when you have parents that are coming from a different country and they move here in order to give you a life that they never had, you reaching this pinnacle to them is monumental. They literally cannot be put in words how much it means to them for you to attain a degree of that stature. When I made that decision, I was all in. I went to pharmacy school. I did great. I really did well, thank the Lord. And it wasn't because of my own abilities. I am not that smart of a human being, but I worked really hard and the Lord rewarded me as such. And thankfully, I graduated. But when I did, I knew right away that this wasn't it. And I'm going to break down why it may not be it for you either. But it's going to take you being really honest with yourself to know if it is or it isn't. So first things first, if the salary associated with the job even remotely allures you to wanting to take the job, it's not the job for you. To be truly prolific in the medical field, you can love money, you can want to make a lot of money, but it has to be one of the last things you're thinking about. If you want to actually be the best of the best, you have to be truly, truly centered around the idea of loving medicine and loving patient care. The only way you're going to be the top of the field in that way is by being the best at both. Now, you might say there's a lot of surgeons who have, let's say, terrible bedside manner, and that's true. But to me, that doesn't qualify them as being the best. They're the best at the specific craft of being a surgeon in whatever field they are specialized in, but that does not make them the best all-around caregiver. When I look at this field, I look at who would be my example if they were alive today. And to me, it's always Jesus, right? Like, he's the first person that comes to mind. When he came to help us and to heal us and to provide us guidance, he didn't do it by just giving us examples. He led in that manner. He allowed us to follow in those footsteps and showed us exactly how to be that way. And I think that's what truly allowed people to resonate with him on this earth. If we are not truly caring about our patients, if we are not truly in love with the idea of medicine and the things that can come along with it that are positive, and working towards not just a fat paycheck, but a true life-changing moment in each of our patients' lives, then I think we're doing it the wrong way. And the issue is I see a lot of people get into the medical field because of the long-term perspective of what it can do monetarily. I know people who are doctors that are doing this, pharmacists, dentists, optometrists, that are all thinking in the same vein, and it saddens me because I see how it affects their patient care and their aspect of working on their craft to become better at it every day. When you think of the people who are the best of the best, you know that they practice what they do every single day relentlessly and that it matters so much to them. The second thing that I think is important to understand is that there are so many fields outside of the medical, law, engineering field that can give you true life-changing ability. It just depends on how you approach it. Some people end up in medicine because they want to change people's lives and make a positive difference. And it's awesome because the thought and the feelings and everything behind it is there. It's positive and it wants to make a real difference. The issue with it is that they think that that's the only way to do it, and it's not. It's not even close. People, for instance, look down on real estate agents, right? Because it's very easy to become a real estate agent. It takes little to no training. But the reality is that when you're working with a good real estate agent and when you're working with a bad real estate agent, there's an enormous gap. That is not a thin line. It is huge. And the reason that is because people who actually love their job and care for their clients want to go get them the best possible home for their needs, their family, whatever it is that they see their life long term is like. There's just a difference. They care differently. They want differently. And they make sure that when they're going out there and doing their job, they have you at the forefront of it every single time. Whereas if you're working with someone who doesn't care at all and sees you as a paycheck, they're just trying to get you into a home as quickly as possible so that way they can cash in that paycheck and move on to the next person. You need to think about all of the different careers that could actually allow you to make a difference in people's lives. And there's just such an enormous array of different jobs and different careers you could take on to change people's lives. In fact, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, really any job, you can make a positive difference in someone's life. Sometimes when I even walk into a grocery store or if I'm buying, let's say I'm gonna go buy food from like Waba Grill or like Jersey Mike's or like wherever, right? Just think of your favorite fast food restaurant as Chipotle and you're going in there to get food. When those workers in there are greeting you with a smile and they're happy and they are not worried about what type of requests you're making and they are just obliging, I don't know about you, but it makes me so appreciative because it just makes me realize that those people actually care, or at least care enough to put on a front that they are happy. And I know that sounds wild, but sometimes the effort alone means more than anything else. And for me, even if you're just trying to put on a smile and say thank you and please and use little things that just brings smiles to people's faces or makes them feel comfortable, it's huge. You can change a whole person's day with that. I've had bad days where I've walked in to a grocery store and I was purchasing something, and as I'm exiting, the cashier says, "Hey, God bless. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day," with a big smile on their face. And I swear that one thing changes my entire vibe. And I bet if you look at yourself, you notice that a lot of small things can change the way that you perceive your day and the outlook of it. The last thing I want to say is that if you're looking at your career as a means to an end, then you're probably not in the right place. The reality is that I think for me, even though I do love working with patients and I did love the fact that I got to make a difference in people's lives, at the end of the day, I saw pharmacy as a way to make a decent amount of money while I'm doing something that I kind of like, and hopefully eventually using that money to segue into something else that I want to do with my life. Just so you know, I super overcorrected in my life. So I had never done anything risky, and my friend offered me to become a co-CEO with his company. And I jumped on and became a real estate investor, and that's what I did. So I went the complete opposite direction, and I failed at points. I succeeded at points. There, I've been all over the spectrum of the worst you could possibly do and the best you could possibly do. But the one thing that has given me is such a sense of fulfillment and excitement and pride in the fact that I was able to go do something that I was not groomed to do and challenge myself in a way that I've never been challenged before. And what I realized is that if I am doing my job at a very high level, I am truly helping people out because I'm able to offer them an exit that they are not usually afforded. When their backs are against the wall, people like what my company does, when they do it on an ethical, moral level that is equivalent to how you're supposed to be treating people on a day-to-day basis anyway, very positively and trying to uplift them, you make such a massive difference in their lives. What I'm trying to tell you is, do not feel so sequestered to one thing simply because everyone else around you has been going towards one direction or another, and you feel like you only have such a limited choice. The world is boundless with opportunity, and I truly believe that if you want something, and you can see how you can make a difference in someone's lives positively, and you go after it in that manner, you will do something that other people are not doing and provide true service and value that other people cannot become equivalent to when it comes to the way you do it. So my whole point is this: don't ever feel like you are stuck and that there's only one door that you can go through. There are multiple doors that allow you to get to the same destination that you're looking for. Your job is to make sure that you are picking the one that actually allows you to maximize on your own abilities and the talents that you are given. Because if you truly feel inspired by what you're doing and you truly see how you can maximize and make a difference in everyone's life around you, or at least with the people that you are working with, then do it. Because when you are happy with what you are doing, or when you at least feel fulfilled and accomplished, then you can apply that to anything, but really, you're just so much better everywhere. You're better at home with your family because you're just happier with what you are doing. You're happier at the grocery store. You're happier at church. You're happier everywhere you go because you just feel this level of peace associated with what you're doing that you cannot feel in any other way unless you are pursuing something that you really want to do. And just to clarify, if your pursuit is, I just want to make a lot of money, you can do that. That could be your main pursuit. That's not a bad thing. But what you need to make sure that you're doing is that within that journey of making a lot of money, find a way that you're making a lot of money and also making a difference in people's lives by being the best version of yourself and allowing them to become better and better every single day as well. Because if you can approach it in that way, it doesn't matter if you're in love with what you're doing, as long as you are in love with the outcome that you are bringing along with it. And the outcome is not just the money alone, it's the way that the money came in because of the massive value provided to everybody around you. So with that being said, to each their own. I personally think there are a lot of ways to be very satisfied outside of medicine and outside of the typical routes, especially in the day and age we are in now. So I challenge you to just look at yourself a little bit deeper, find out what you want to do, find out who you are, find out what it is that you can do to make a difference in people's lives that'll actually be the best you can possibly be at that specific thing. I don't even know if that made sense, but you know what I'm saying. Just go after it, be the best that you can be. With that being said, I love you guys. I hope you guys all have a great day, fantastic week. Until the next time, peace out.